Hello, today. This is Ronnie. I'm coming to you with a viewer question. They're interested in selling their car online. And I've sold many cars on eBay Motors in the past. So I figured I would give a little advice, a little background on eBay Motors. So anybody looking to sell a vehicle on eBay Motors would have an idea. And also, most people, Craigslist is a very good idea. I mean, we used to sell many cars on eBay, and then when Craigslist came around, I think we started on eBay about 2001 selling cars, and then when eBay came around, our Craigslist, we're able to also advertise on that. We used to line up a few different cars here and there on the side of the road. Certain businesses would allow us. That was the old way. It's a little different now with how online sales have been going. But some of the tips, if you're going to sell the car on eBay, I think you're allowed 40 pictures if I'm mistaken, or it was 40 pictures. I haven't sold a car in about 3 years on eBay now. But you want to use as many pictures as possible. If your car has any issues like rust or just any kind of dents or any kind of flaws, you want to point them out. Um, Let me see. I would definitely take pictures on a sunny day, just because you don't get any shadows, no any issues with the lighting. Clean your car before you listen. Nobody wants to see cigarette butts all in the ashtray and your Dunkin' Donut coffee on the floor and so on and so forth. Make sure you clean your car pretty well before taking pictures. It's crazy how many people's pictures you see of cars and there's just junk everywhere in the car and you're like shaking your head. I mean, because it's going to turn a buyer off. Most likely that car doesn't look like it's been upkept. You're going to be asked to include your VIN number, so people can run checks against that vehicle to see if there's accidents, how many owners, through auto check or through the hell is it, Carfax. Um, Pictures of underneath cars, especially if you're in the north here where they use salt on the roads and stuff like that. You definitely want to take pictures of the underneath of the car, as they do get a little rusty, oxidation, so on and so forth. So you do want to take your pictures, because most of the time, cars are bought from people. I would say when we sold cars, 80% of the people lived more than 100 miles away that were coming for that car. They were actually flying in and they planned on driving that car home. So if that car is not really drivable, you really want to point it and stress that in the listing, whatever repairs it may need, so on and so forth. Before we sold cars, personally, we would have every car checked out. If it had an issue and it was cheap enough and it made sense to us, we'd have it fixed. If it was a big problem that we didn't feel like spending the money, we'd list it in the description. Need to be towed or need to be moved, cannot be driven, so on and so forth. A lot of deals actually start on eBay, but people will contact you, and a lot of deals are made off eBay. eBay allows you to put actually your telephone number while selling a car in the listing, and I recommend doing that because you'll want to have people personally talk to somebody. They don't want to go back and forth with messages, and then when you're on the phone, they communicate with you better about selling your vehicle. It's the same thing with Craigslist. If you're going to sell a vehicle on Craigslist, put your phone number. It drives me crazy when you're trying to buy a car and you're trying to go back and forth with someone for 3 or 4 days about meeting up and so on and so forth. It's a little frustrating. Let me see. Auctions versus fixed price. Auctions actually bring a lot more attention to vehicles. We used to sell vehicles starting at like $100, I think, no reserve auction. I'd recommend putting a reserve. You'll see that a lot with vehicles, and that'll probably be the number one question you get. What is the reserve? It gives you an idea. of what you want. But if you don't have much into the vehicle and you just want to move it from your area or move it out of your yard or so on and so forth to get a new car, you just want to move it. Sometimes eBay no reserve auctions actually do pretty well, but you know, with a lot of auctions, there'll come a lot of non-paying bidders. A lot of people get too caught up in the bidding, and then after they win an auction, they realize, I don't know, maybe they start getting cold feet. I would say probably somewhere between 35 and 40% of our vehicles had to get listed a second time or a third time because the first bidders, either they didn't line up their financing properly, they didn't have the money to buy a vehicle, they try getting it for a lower price after. It's kind of frustrating a little bit. Craigslist is not bad either for that sense because you can communicate with somebody, but Craigslist tends to get a lot of lowball people. I mean, I remember selling cars on there and you're asking $5,000, someone comes along, I got $2,000 in my pocket, and it's like, yeah, that's not gonna happen. Not today, not tomorrow. You're wasting my freaking time. So I mean, it depends. If you're going to do it on Craigslist, also make sure you do it in a lighted area. You want to make sure you meet up with somebody, not necessarily at your house all the time. Go to a restaurant, go to a bank. Have them view the car, and most likely they're going to want to drive the car around. Get in the car with them, have them drive it up and down the street. Especially if it's on the road. Still, it's different if the vehicle is off the road and it's in your yard, then they got to come to your house. But I'm not a big fan of people coming to my house. Also auctions, you could do auctions on eBay. It's 3, 5, 7, or 10 days. There is no one-day auctions on motors, I believe. And also fixed is 3, 5, 7, 10, or I think it's 21 days. I don't think they have a 30-day one. I think it's 21 days. And fixed motor, and there's also eBay classifieds too. I'm not sure how exactly that works, but that's also another avenue. If you got the time for the vehicle and sit, so on and so forth. But also another thing we used to do with cars all the time. It's kind of changed, so I'm not 100% sure how you can do this anymore. But I know it can be done because people like Chad Golden Finger Picker puts videos in their listing. But we used to always make a 5 to 10 minute video of the car on top of the 40 pictures or whatever the max pictures it was, just to get people an idea of the car running, underneath the car, just in the middle of the day when it was sunny, go out there and just make a video, cold start the vehicle, let it run as they hear it. They hear it start up. They can hear the car going and going and going. Because sometimes when you don't do a cold start, cars, might have a little ticking or something that somebody might not be happy with. But when the car warms up, you don't hear that anymore. So you want to make sure you're truthful and honest 100% with your buy. You want to put any and all options of the vehicle. If it's been an accident, put it's been an accident. Because they're going to find out either way, most people. And the last thing you'd hate to have someone drive or fly to a certain place and they get to that vehicle and they're not happy. I remember my dad sold my mom's '69 Camaro online. It wasn't anything really that special, but these people came down from Canada. They live in upstate New York. And they drove down with a trailer. And they tried buying the car from my parents before they actually the auction listed. They were offering less than what it was going for at the time. It was kind of a ballsy move on their part, but the sense that it backfired because by the time they got there, they were no longer the highest bidder. They were kind of trying to play this game like, hey, we're the highest bidder. We're here with money. We'll take the car right now from your hand and blah, blah, blah. But the cars, by the time everything worked out, they were no longer the highest bidder, and I guess they didn't have any more money to spend. Ballsy and stupid at the same time. But you'll get a lot of people. I mean, you just want to make sure it's pretty actually simple. You don't meet any crazy people really. Be honest about your vehicle and just do the best you can about listing. I think I've answered most of the questions and most of the tips. But I definitely make a video and put a video in there, the vehicle running and a close-up video of everything. Just everything, trunk space, I everything and everything. Glove boxes, show windows going up and down. so on and so forth. And that's about it. You could upload your videos right to YouTube. Easy to make a name, so on and so forth. I mean, that's why our name is Heart Motors Company, because that's what we were doing before we got into this side of reselling. So hope this helps you out. If you have any other questions, hit down below, and I'll see you later. Have a good day, everybody.